Hi, welcome to the Kosher Aliyah Cooking Network. I guess this should be Shechiyanu v'kimanu v'higenu azman hazeh. This is the first recipe I'm going to share with you on the network. I hope you enjoy it and use it as much as I do. It's one of those 1, 2, 3, quick in a bowl, in a flash, when someone has a baby, you have last minute company, you have to go meet someone in the airport. Typical, normal things that happen in Israeli life over here. Very easy recipe. And I've adapted it from this cookbook. I'm not sure which one it is, I apologize. It looks like this. It has a blue binder. Things are falling out of it. It has a blue binder. I think it's an Amuna one. It's an Amit one from many years ago. The recipe I'm using is a chocolate chip cookie stick by Freddie Wender. If anyone knows who she is, please let me know so I can give her the credit where credit is due. And I use it all the time, as you can see. It's very tasty. Anyway, the key to any chocolate cookie recipe is you want to underbake it. If you don't like crunchy ones, the best way to do it is to keep them. It says 10 to 12 minutes to bake them. Cook them for a little less. They freeze better that way. They taste fresher when they come out, and they are always nice and soft. So we're big fans of soft cookies. So this is one of those kind of recipes. What I'm going to do is show you the recipe ingredients, and then afterwards we'll put it all together in a bowl. Okay. First thing you're going to have is sugar. Very important. This is one of the things we're going to have to explain is sukar chum, dark brown sugar. This is one of the hardest things that I had to get used to when I came to this country. The brown sugar here used to only come, it came lots of different ways, but this is the one I used to use. It's called dark brown sugar. Sukar chum kaheh, dark brown sugar. And it's a little bit hard to see. I'm going to try to get a little close-up of it. I'll show you the difference of the two of them in a minute. It's a very, very large granulation. That was what they used to have. They didn't have the dark brown sugar. They used to the dark packed brown sugar, as I'm used to in my chocolate cookie recipes, until recently. Recently I found Maya puts out sukar chum. I've seen it before in other brands, but it's very hard to find it. But this is in main supermarkets now. It's one of those, it's a much finer granulation, and it's much more compact, like the ones you're used to in America. I'm going to come a little closer so you can see the difference between the two sugars. As you can see, this is the one I'm used to, the Sugat one, and this is the one, the dark brown, like packed sugar. So this is when I use my chocolate chip recipes. This is the one that I want to use. I'm going to use a half a cup of the dark brown sugar. We're also going to use half a cup of sukar lavan, which is plain white sugar. You'll find also in this country that the white sugar is a larger granulation than you're used to. I have heard of people putting it in the processor for like a second to make it a little finer. I don't go through that process. I find that you get used to this after a while. Just note that your cookies might be a little crunchier or might have a larger granulation of sugar in there. You will get used to it as well. But there are certain brands that do come smaller, but this is just it's kind of hard to find them. So just stick with the plain sukar lavan. We're going to put half a cup of sukar lavan. I'm also going to put in half a cup of oil. This is shemen canola. I'm going to show you. Shemen canola oil. Just know that you have to make sure you say canola, which is canola oil, and it's mizukach, which means refined. Many times the soya oil is is also on the same shelf. Very confusing, looks very, very similar, so please be careful when you get it. So we're using half a cup of the oil. We're also going to be using 1 egg, which I forgot in my refrigerator. 1 second. I'm going to show you something about the eggs in this country. Excuse me. Okay, the eggs here. Notice something very interesting about the eggs. Let me show you. There's red ink on the eggs. How interesting. Why would they choose to put red ink on eggs in this country? Of all things, because every time you crack one open, it took me about, 6 months to figure this out. Every time I went ahead and I cracked the egg, I thought I had a blood spot in it. But it wasn't the case. So I learned how to crack my eggs with the red on top. So when I open it, there's no red that runs into the egg. But we have to make a suggestion maybe to make green ink or black ink instead. So if anyone's up to making the complaint, I'm all for it. But we're putting in 1 egg. We're also going to put in about half a teaspoon of salt. Okay, a pinch, half a teaspoon. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be putting in is the vanilla. Now this is the one vice that I have. I really try as hard as I can to use as many Israeli products as I can in my kitchen. Number 1, I want to support the Israeli economy. And number 2, finding the American products in the supermarket is sometimes very difficult to find. And number 3, when you do find them, they're very expensive. So we're trying to wean ourselves off of it. It's taken a number of years, but we're finally used to using the Israeli products. And that's what I'd like to do on this channel as well, is try to use as many Israeli products as we can. Now, the only thing that I have, the only vice I have is the vanilla. The Israeli vanilla, which is called Tamsit Aliyah, b'ta'am Veniil. It's basically vanilla extract. It does not taste anything like the Israeli vanilla that I'm used to. So when I do my chocolate chip cookie recipes, when you really taste the vanilla, I use my Israeli one, my American one, sorry. For other recipes, I'm fine using the Israeli kind, but when it comes to chocolate chip cookies, when you really taste the vanilla, I try to use my American one. Also, just check when you do make cookies for other people, sometimes they do not like using certain hashgachot that they are from America. You have to be careful and make sure to ask them if they're okay with this vanilla, or you may have to use this vanilla. Okay, so we're going to put in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be putting in is flour. Flour in this country is called, let's see, kemach chita lavan bahir, bright white wheat flour. This is obviously bleached flour. Just make sure that you don't get solet, which I've gotten a lot of times. Just be careful because the bags look very similar. Usually they come in this size, which is 1 kilo, which is about a 2.2 size. In America, I used to a 5-pound bag. Actually, it's much easier when you have the size, much easier to store. And when I sift it, which I'll show you in a different episode, how to sift your flour here, it's much easier to sift because you just pour this whole bag into the sifter, which I'm going to show you. So for the flour, we're going to have 1.5 cup of flour. But I have my pre-sifted flour, which is over here. I keep it in a bag in my freezer, and that way it keeps out the bugs, and it also keeps it nice and fresh and fluffy. Just make sure that you check out the video on how to sift the flour here. I have a very easy way of doing it. Unless you have an electric sifter, I'll show you the way to do it with the hand sifter. One of my friends in Kiryat Sefer was very kind and showed me this little trick. So make sure to check it out. Next thing we're going to have is baking soda. Okay, baking soda is called Soda לשתיה. I'm going to show you. This is Soda לשתיה. Comes in a small box. Also comes in a bigger size. Usually you can find the smaller boxes. I was always, you have the little packets inside, and I usually just pour them all into this big size. So instead of having to buy 10 boxes, I pour them all into a big one. So we're going to be putting in 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And we're also going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Salt here this is table salt. Melech haaretz. Melech haaretz, this is table salt. I know that in America, a lot of times people use coarse salt. Very difficult to go ahead and find here. Typical coarse salt, they have different names for it, which we'll get into a different episode. But for our baking purposes, we use this kind of salt, which is baking salt. And of course, the other thing we're going to use, which is the most important part, which I've got in my freezer, are the chocolate chips. Now, let me show you this bag of chocolate chips. These are my favorite. These are the Oppenheimer chocolate chips. I like them straight out of the bag, which is always a true test. They are very good. They melt very well, and I find that they are as close to the American ones as I can find. If you use other chocolate chips, they will probably give a different taste to the chocolate chip cookies, but try to get these if you can. Otherwise, I have heard there are other brands as well. I just happen to find these to be the most reliable and easiest to find. So we're going to use about 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of chocolate chips. The recipe also calls for about 1/2 cup or 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts if you'd like to use. I don't use them, but you can use them as well. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and mix up all the ingredients, and we'll show you how that looks. Okay, so we put together all of our wet ingredients, the sugars, the oil, the vanilla, and the egg. Going to mix it up. I guess you can see it like this. Going to mix it up now. So I'll place it incorporated, and then we're going to add our dry ingredients, okay? So like I said, I have my bag of flour over here. I'm going to put in 1.5 cups. Here is my 1 cup. I preset the flour. And we'll put in 1/2 of this cup. And we're going to put in our salt. About 1/2 teaspoon of salt, like we said. And also our baking soda. Okay. Which is I put my baking soda. 1/2 teaspoon. 1/2 teaspoon of salt of baking soda. Okay, and we're going to mix it all together. As you can see. There we go. Nice and easy. 1 bowl. 1, 2, 3. And like I said, this is great without a mixer. Even your kids can do it. 1, 2, 3. Makes a very nice dough. Our first year of marriage, my husband and I, we were big fans of chocolate chip cookie dough. I know it's a big no-no. We used to have it in our freezer, and I would have it ready rolled. So So all I had to do was slice it when we had company. I've stopped doing that since because my husband and I gained about 15 pounds the first year because we kept eating the cookie dough out of the freezer. So as much as it's a time saver, it ended up being a very, very bad thing for us. So I don't recommend it. Putting your cookie dough in the freezer all ready to slice. So if you have self-control, then you can go ahead and do it. And if you don't, then just make it nice and fresh. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and just give it a mix with my hands. And you'll see it comes together very nicely. A very nice dough. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to add in the chocolate chips. Okay. About a half a cup. Chocolate chips. Mix them all together. Until we have a nice, fine, incorporated dough. And in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how they look on the cookie sheet. You're going to bake them for about 8 to 10 minutes on a 350 oven, which is about 175 to 180 degrees Celsius. You have to check your oven. Each oven's different. Just check your baking temperatures. And like I said, it's called for 8 to 10 minutes. I try to keep it in for 8. It really depends on your oven, like I said. So please just try to make sure that when you bake it, it has like a lightish brown to it, and that's it, and pull them right out. That way they stay nice and soft. Okay, so right back, I'll show you how it looks on the cookie sheet. Okay, one thing that I forgot to explain to you is when you have your pan, the baking pan, baking pans here are about 15 by 13. I line mine with parchment paper. Now, the parchment paper here is called Aliyah. I find that it helps a lot. First of all, it's very hard to find PAM, spray, non-stick spray. When you do find it, it just ends up being at an expense. And Aliyah is a great substitute. I put it in the bottom of all my cakes, the bottom of my cookie sheets. It makes cleanup much easier, and it helps the cookies keep their shape instead of spreading out too much. So I simply take out a page, and I opened it up, I folded it a bit so that it would fit into the pan, and that's usually what I use. You can go ahead and rip some if you'd like. When you use a 9 by 13 pan, which is your lasagna-sized pan, I just simply cut it in half like this. And this piece fits right into the 9 by 13 pan. Okay. Anyway, I have my cookies on the sheet pan. I'm go ahead and bake them up. House is going to smell great. And I'll try to quickly get them into the freezer before everyone gets to eat them. But I'm going to show you how they look after they're baked. Thanks. See you in a few minutes. Okay, so here we go. Our cookies are done. As you can see, they're not very dark. They're light on the bottom. I don't cook them for very long. It's a light brown. And I also broke apart to show you that it's nice and soft on the inside. And if you put them in the freezer quickly afterwards, the parchment paper in between each of the levels in a plastic container, they'll stay fresh for you for a good few weeks. So hope you enjoy them. And my kids are dying to dig into them for dessert. I keep pushing them away, telling them they can't touch them until after dessert. So I'm sure they'll get to enjoy them. I hope you get to enjoy them as well, and they become a mainstay in your house like they become in mine. Thanks so much. Please don't forget, if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe. Please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you look on the right side of the video, you'll see a list of ingredients. And like below, like I said before, if you have a different way of making chocolate chip cookies here, or if you have a different cookie you'd like to share with us, please feel free. Check out the tab below to explain to you how to send your video to me via WeTransfer. And I'll be happy to post it up here and let other people view it as well. And they'll hopefully make it a mainstay in their home as well. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great day.